Frequency with Bolele
on 947.
The Wednesday, so we get into Her Frequency, and I am joined by a lovely guest, man. I first saw her at the Content Creator Awards in 2024. And then I don't know, somehow we found each other online, followed her. And you know when you follow someone and you feel like you know them? That's how I am feeling right now. I'm just feeling like, oh my gosh, I feel like I know her. I feel like I'm just going to be catching up and we're just going to be having so many chats. So I'm definitely looking forward to the type of conversation that we're going to have with my guest today. She is quite the inspiration online. You know, when you come across content creators that are quite authentic in what they're doing, that are quite open to telling their story, that allow themselves to be vulnerable, and that vulnerability becomes impactful, she's the type of content creator. And to get her in studio with me to unpack and dissect her story is something that I am quite excited about. So I reckon we get into it, man.
All right, here we go. Success is cool. Knowing what it took to get there, even better. Her Frequency with Bolele, celebrating Women's Month on 947.
Yep, and you know, every Wednesday we really just gather women that are phenomenal, that are doing amazing things, and women that, you know, inspire me, right? This is really just about making space for women whose lives remind us that there is no single way to define success. And tonight's guest is a woman who has allowed herself to evolve, and beautifully at that. Karabo Didi Khumalo is an attorney. Can we still call her an attorney? She decided that she wasn't going to practice no more. But listen, she actually made the bold decision to step away from corporate law and bet on a completely different path, building a career as a digital content creator. And what she has built is a beautiful intersection of family, food, lifestyle, and storytelling. She's a wife, she's a mother, a woman of faith, a creator, and an entrepreneur who has turned sharing pieces of her everyday life into a brand that has actually connected with thousands of people online. But tonight, I want to go beyond the beautiful home, the food, the campaigns, and the content, and meet the woman behind it all. Karabo Didi Khumalo. Welcome to The Frequency.
Thank you so much, Bolele. I'm having such a great time with you. I feel like I know you already.
Right?
This is such a wonderful time.
It's
Thank
like what
you so
I
much.
said when I started the show. I was just like, man, you're sitting in front of me and it really does feel like I know you, right? And I'm super excited to chat to you because then I can actually, you know, piece things together that I have already put in my mind, but now with you, right?
Yeah.
So let's first talk about this bold decision that you made, right? A lot of the time we grow up being told that law, accounting, being a doctor is what is going to give you the big bucks.
Yes.
You took one of those routes, right?
Yes, I did.
But midway you decide that actually this is not going to work for me. Was there a particular moment that had you feeling like, no, I want to pivot. There's something different that I want to do.
So, if I'm being honest, it's not like I woke up one day and realized that that space was no longer for me. My first time in corporate, so I was working for a top 5 corporate law firm.
Yeah.
And the first time when you step in there, the chairman will come speak to you guys and they'll basically paint out what your career would look like in the firm up until you become equity director. And I could see the excitement on everyone's faces and the eagerness, and it almost felt like these people know that this is where they're meant to be. But with me, I deeply knew, and it was as if because of my faith, I listen to God and I try to map out what I think His plans are for me and my future. And as I sat there listening to David Hurd speak, I thought to myself, I don't think I'm going to be here for a very long time.
Sure.
Like, I don't see myself becoming director.
Sure.
But one thing about me, I believe in obedience. And in whatever space God places you in, you need to take in as much as you can. You need to learn, and you need to respect the season and be obedient. So for as long as I was there, I chose to be obedient, to learn as much as I could, to build the relationships that have played a role in the person I am today and in my journey as a content creator. And that's exactly what I did.
So what then is the conversation you have with God when you make that decision or when you're contemplating?
So eventually, a few years later, I become a mom.
Sure.
And I think I didn't truly know what purpose was, at least for my life, until I became a mom. And when you're working in a very high intensity environment, it's so easy to be consumed by that space, and that becomes your life. And you come in 6 o'clock in the morning, you're knocking off, sometimes even at midnight, or you're working hours on end. And then I become a mom. Growing up, I never really imagined myself as a mom, and I didn't think I'd be the most amazing mom.
You did so well.
I know.
It's what
I
you always
shocked myself as well.
Wow.
And then I become a mom. And I mean, if I fell pregnant while I was still working in corporate.
Yeah.
And I cried so much. I cried.
I
thought my life was over because I'm just like, I am just a child. And my job is so demanding. I don't know how I'm going to do this. But I think the first time I went for my gynae's appointment when I was 3 months pregnant. And when you hear that heartbeat and you realize that there's a life inside of you, and then you give birth to this human and you realize how much it changes your life, you realize that there is so much more, or at least for me, there's so much more to my life than my work, my talents, my gifts. And now I get to pour into this human. And I think that gave me the confidence and peace. When you walk with God, I think when you know that something or a season has come to an end, there's a peace that comes with it. So I didn't choose to go into, I actually, in fact, didn't think I was going to go into content creation full time, because I used to share my journey online, and I'd get like 1 or 2 campaigns here and there. And so when I decided I didn't want to be in corporate anymore, I actually thought I was going to go in-house. There was a time I even did like 5 rounds of interviews at a particular company, and it was going so well. But there was no peace that came with it. And so when eventually I felt the peace in my heart that I needed to do content creation, the doors that started to open, I think, brought the peace, the opportunities, because it's a big risk to leave your job that is well paying, that is there's stability. My husband, it didn't make sense for him because he always saw me as this boss babe. You know, she's going to be director. She's so smart. So for him, it did not make sense. So eventually when I said, this is the decision I'm making, he was on board. He decided, okay, it doesn't make sense, but I'm going to support you. But he also said to me, you need to understand that this is no longer a hobby, it's now a business, and we need to treat it as such. So help me to help you think about how you can grow in this space and put yourself out there.
You are very intentional about what you put out, right?
I really am.
And a big part of that comes with you being very vulnerable, right? Was that an automatic thing when you found that the more of your story you started to share, people started to resonate with, and that was ultimately then the direction you chose to take? Or were you quite selective that, okay, cool, this is my life. There are parts of it that I have shared, but I'm going to limit it to food, family, and fashion. But fashion came a little later.
It came at the end. You wake up one day and you're like, I actually dress well.
Exactly. And I want people to see. You know?
And I think the more people tell you that you dress well, you're like,
it builds the confidence.
Actually. So in terms of the authenticity or the vulnerability, I don't think you can truly be authentic without willing to be vulnerable. And I think I realized it a long time ago. And obviously, I didn't go into this thinking, I want to be a content creator and I want to get paid by big brands. I was purely sharing my journey. And I remember this started even in varsity when I used to study. I'd share study tips with like the few followers that I had. And even when I was a kid growing up, I was that kid who always wanted to have a phone in my hand and capture people.
Everything. Nice.
Take videos of people, take pictures of people. So the passion has always been there. But I think the more I became invested in social media, the more I realized the importance of authenticity, because that's what truly connects you to people. And that's what makes you feel human or be human. And that's what makes other people see that, oh, she's human, or she's like me, and she goes through struggles as well, and her life is not all that perfect. I mean, Jesus is a prime example of the importance of vulnerability. You see it when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he was in agony and immense pain, and he cried out to God, and he said, take this cup from me. You see it even before that when he lost, when his close friend Lazarus passed away,
Yeah.
he wept, he cried. And that's what made him human. I mean, he was a perfect being, but he understood what it means to be vulnerable, and that was what was required in order to connect to people. And without that, I don't think people would have been able to truly relate to him. And so that's what I've applied in my journey. There's obviously moments where you have to be respectful of the people in your life, and you have to set certain boundaries to say, okay, this is not appropriate to share. But there's a level of, and authenticity comes with being yourself as well. And I constantly have to remind myself in this space to remain true to myself, because it's so easy to get caught up in what other people are doing,
100%.
what other people are achieving.
Yeah.
But you constantly need to remind yourself who you are, whose you are, why you're doing this. And that's what allows you to stay authentic and connected to your people. And also just realizing that you don't have fans, you actually have a community.
A community, yeah.
And people want community, people need community. People's lives are changed by community, and that's what I keep reminding myself. Yeah.
There was a comment I saw on the post that we just put up, and someone said, "You radiate kindness. It's almost like you can hear it and feel it in your voice, girl." Like it's so true.
Thank you
It's
so
almost
much.
like I could just sit and listen to you speak. My goodness.
Thank you so much.
We are hanging out with Karabo Didi Khumalo. She's here to share her story.
947.
Every Wednesday, Women's Month is dedicated to women that are doing amazing things, man. Women that I am inspired by, and women that I just sit and marvel at. Ah!
It's the story you won't find on her feed. Didi Khumalo on her frequency with Bolele on 947.
Karabo Didi Khumalo is my guest this evening, and we're really just diving deep into her life, the decisions she's made that govern the woman that she has become today. And just before we went to the ad break, we were actually just speaking about, how she decided what she was going to share and what she wasn't going to share, right? And a big part of what she does requires her to be vulnerable, thus bringing that authenticity to life, right? And Karabo, if there's one thing that comes with being vulnerable, that comes with being authentic, especially if people are in full view of that, they sometimes feel like they have access.
Yes.
Right? How do you manage that? Because people almost feel like they can talk about your life, or they can be part of your life, and you have your boundaries, right? You also just have certain things that you don't want to expose to the world, or certain things that people, or you might feel people need to understand, are sacred, more so to you, more so to your journey. How do you maneuver that?
I think my people know me.
Okay.
So they don't often, the community that I spoke about.
Yeah.
I've built a community, and I think people know me so well that I haven't had many instances where my boundaries have been overstepped. There is those one or two people that will be out of place, and I choose to just keep quiet. So I'll see the message, and then the best approach for me is always keep quiet, because I don't want to end up saying something I'm not meant to say, or being rude or stepping out of my character.
Sure.
I don't need to fight. Sometimes I said to a friend today, sometimes you don't need to fight battles. People know who you are, and that's just it. And then I'm also an open book. I'm a very open book. It's not just on Instagram. I think even the people in my lives know me.
They know,
I wear my heart on a sleeve.
Yeah.
So people know as much as they need to know. And therefore, because of that authenticity and vulnerability, I don't feel like people ever sit and think, I want to be nosy. I don't often get into arguments with people online. I don't think it's the best approach. But also, I'm married to the type of man who understands conflict management and dealing with people. So sometimes if someone sends me something that's a bit out of line, I'll show him and I'll run to him. And then he'll say, it's okay, babe, just let it go, leave it. Sometimes people don't mean, and I think sometimes other content creators fail to understand that people don't always mean bad. Social media creates over familiarity.
100%.
And people tend to forget that it is social media. And sometimes I get a bit anxious when people ask me, like, where does your son go to gymnastics? And the only thing I ever wish is, I wish people could be considerate of me. Like, I don't want to not share.
Yeah,
but I don't want to be put in that position as well where I have to second guess, because at the end of the day, it's like it's my child's safety. So I can't just go around sharing where he does gymnastics, because he's there for most of the week. So there's times like that when I feel compromised, but then I'll choose, okay, I'm just not going to reply to this message. And then I'll reply to what everything else that the person has asked me. But that. And I think that sends out a
clear message,
But people know my boundaries, and sometimes they'll say, I'm sorry to ask this.
At least they're still being respectful. And just like, I don't even know if I can ask.
And then other times I'll just say, sorry, unfortunately, I can't share. But because I'm such an open book and I share so much and I freely share information about things that add value to other people, there isn't many instances where I feel some type of way because people are coming at me sideways.
Yeah. A big part of your content creation also surrounds your married life, right? And that's also something that people resonate with, because we get to see the realities of marriage, of love. But there's also the demonstration of a healthy kind of love, right? And you've spoken about this, and you've said that you knew before
I got married.
You got married. Or before you guys got introduced that he was your husband, right? Take us through that, because I think for some people it's just like, no, when it's a desire.
Or people are like, you're just weird.
Yeah, no, you're just
or you're hyper spiritual.
Exactly, you know. So take us through that. Like, and how do you differentiate what then is the voice of God from what could potentially be a desire? Yeah.
Okay, so I met my now husband in 2014, in my first year of varsity. I was in another relationship at the time, and I just so happened to bump into them at the cafeteria on campus. I was getting food, and we lived in the same area. Like our girls' res was the only girls' residence on the Proof Plus, and then it was just guys' reses. So he lived there, but I'd never seen him. Like, I'd seen him from a distance. And so when I bumped into some mutual friends of ours, they introduced us, and he was like, what's your name? He's like, I'm Khumalo. I'm like, is that not a surname? And he's like, no, that's my name. I'm like, okay. Didn't really think anything of him, to be honest. It wasn't a love at first sight situation. It was just like, oh, I've seen this guy before. Now I get to meet him. We have mutual friends. And then I bumped into him maybe 2 other times outside of that, because now we had been introduced. So whenever, like when I bumped into him those like 2 other times, I greeted him and would have like small chats, and I'd leave it. But like I said, I was in another relationship at the time, and it wasn't necessarily the best relationship for me. And I remember in that season of my life, I was very distant from the Lord. And I had stopped going to church. I was so empty. You know, when you're so empty that you look tired all the time.
Girl.
And people are like,
girl.
People are like, what's wrong?
Are you okay?
Are you okay? And you're like, I'm tired. I'm tired, and no amount of sleep can save you, because you're just so empty. And I remember the one day I was sitting literally at the edge of my bed in Ray's, one of those mornings where I'm like hyping myself up to leave my room and actually do life and go to campus. And I'm sitting at the edge of my bed, like just gathering myself. And I literally heard a voice say, Zam is going to be your husband.
Pause there, ne? Is it an external voice, or is it an internal voice?
No, it wasn't even. It's like I'm sitting, I'm minding my own business.
So it wasn't the sound of your voice.
No, it wasn't the sound of my voice. It's literally like
an external voice.
I can't explain it. Like when God speaks to you, it's like it's audible, but not physically audible.
I know, I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, but the amazing thing about God is He always confirms His word. Because when I heard that the first time, I was like, that is so weird. I barely know this person. I feel nothing for him. I remember the same day I was having dinner with my friends in the dining hall. And I said to them, guys, and we're still friends till this day, so they can testify to this. And I said to them, guys, the weirdest thing happened today. I literally heard God say to me, Zam is going to be my husband. And they barely knew him as well, because I had just properly met him. And they're like, who's that? And I tried to explain to them who this guy is. And I'm like, no, he looks like this. He's always standing there. And they're like, we have no idea who that is. But it also, because I didn't have feelings for him or anything, I didn't hold on to it. It wasn't, and I was also like dating someone else. And so I forgot about it. Didn't think about it too much. And a few months later, I don't know if it was already the following year in 2015. I think it was in 2015. Then I am at my lowest, and I remember it was recess, and I prayed to God and I said, God, please give me the strength. Because when you've dated someone for a year plus, or even some people a few months, you invest emotionally into this thing that even when you realize it's not working, you still want to hold on because you're thinking, I invested so much, I did this. And even in that relationship, it was like friends set us up. So I then channeled myself, say, I'm in this a relationship with this guy. I'm going to pour out into him. And so letting go was a bit hard. And I remember just praying to God and saying, God, please give me the strength to let this person go and to not even feel any form of animosity against them.
Sure.
And I said to God, if it means it's going to take me, I had a book where I used to write down my goals. Like the front page was written, where's Didi going and what does Didi need to do to get there? And I remember I wrote in that book, God, if it's going to take me 3 years, 4 years to meet my husband, I'm willing to wait. If it's going to take 2 weeks, that's okay. I'm just going to trust in your timing. The most important thing for me right now is to focus on you. I am so empty and I'm desperately in need of you to fill me up. Sure. And I want to focus on my relationship with you.
Sure.
And I don't know when I'm going to find or meet my husband, but I'm willing to wait because the most important thing right now is my soul and my relationship with you. And I remember as I was praying, I was at my friend's house and I was praying and I heard that exact identical voice from a few months ago saying, Zam is going to be your husband.
Sure.
And for the first time I paid it shook me on the inside because I was like,
resonating with the prayer you had.
Yes, and I was like, that cannot be a coincidence. That's just weird. But also I'd only seen this guy a handful of times. So I just thought, I don't even know how that's going to happen. And I remember going back to Ray's after recess and my friend is driving me. I'm in the passenger seat. I'm typing, like I'm just scrolling on my phone. And when we stopped at the robots just before, the traffic lights just before driving into Ray's, I looked up and I saw Zam driving up where we were about to turn.
That's
and
so
I
crazy.
jumped out of the seat, like something in me.
I was just like, hey.
I was so startled. And I was like, that is crazy. And then after that, like I said, I'd seen him a handful of times, but for some reason, our paths started to cross in the craziest way. I saw him everywhere. Like I'd be on the 5 p.m., like the last bus that was going to Reyes. And just as the driver's about to take off, he'd come running. I'd never seen him on the bus before because he had a car. And I always, till this day, I make fun of him. I'm like, you were too bougie. You never used to catch the bus and you only started catching the bus because you liked me, and he denies it. But he would run up and then there wouldn't be any more seats left. So he'd be forced to come sit like closer to me and he'd stand there and would talk. And then he suddenly had lectures on a Friday morning at 7 a.m. in the law building. So when I was going to the library, I'd see him there. If I was going to the humanities building for a lecture, he'd be coming out of a lecture. And because our paths were crossing so much, we became really good friends. And I was definitely not going to tell him that God said, you're going to be my husband.
Because you'll sound crazy. It's just
he said he was glad I didn't tell him. One, because he at the time was in a 4-year relationship.
Wow.
With someone else.
Sure.
And so we were friends and genuine friends. People always ask, like, did anything happen? I'm like, genuinely no. He didn't know what God had told me. But also I was skeptical. I remember I'd pray to God and I'd say, because he was planning to marry this person because like a childhood friend. Their families are like friends. And so
you know,
in my
mind,
mind,
are you sure?
Yes, I'd just be like, God, it does not make sense. I do not see how this is going to happen. And then a short while later, he tells me that he broke up with this person and she actually broke up with him. But I won't get into the details because it's not my story to share.
Yeah.
But even after that, he needed to go through healing. I was still going through my own healing journey. So for a year, we did not date. Nothing happened. We were purely friends. And a year after, or 2 years after God had said he'd be my husband, then he pursued me. And we had both done the healing work that was required. He had made peace with his ex-girlfriend. I had made peace with my ex-boyfriend. I remember saying to my ex-boyfriend, I don't hate you, I'm not mad at you, because he was trying to convince me to stay. And I said, there's nothing that you can say to me that will convince me. I know and have peace in my heart about this decision. And I want to be able to walk past you in public and say
be okay.
hi and be happy for you when you have milestones, but there's nothing here for us. And so when Zam and I started dating, we were both in a very healthy space, and 3 years after that he proposed. And I actually only told him God said he'd be my husband after he proposed.
Wow.
And I said I've always known, I just didn't know how it would happen, but God has worked it out.
That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. It's almost like the perfect love story. My goodness. But you spoke.
It's not perfect, I promise. People often also look at social media and think people's lives are perfect. It's not perfect, but it's through the grace of God.
Absolutely.
There's so much respect. We respect each other so much. And I think we have such a great friendship. And so even when we have squabbles and we don't see eye to eye, we're able to communicate and we always have each other's interests at heart. And we know we're a team. And that's what I think makes this so great.
So beautiful. Yeah. You've spoken greatly about the healing journeys that you guys had to embark on.
Yes.
What does that look like, right? Because one would just think, you continue with life and you just automatically heal through it, right? But I've also just recently gone on my own personal healing journey, and I've realized that there's intentional work that goes into healing. What did that look like for you?
For me, it looked like surrendering to God and investing in my relationship with God. There's a saying, when you put God first, everything else in your life finds its perfect place. And so I remember I used to say to God, to Zam, I can only be my best to you and to everyone around me when my relationship with God is in a healthy place, when I'm spending time with God, when I'm reading the word, when I'm worshiping, when I'm fellowshipping, when I'm in church. And just investing in that and being able to do that brings so much healing. There's so much peace in the presence of God. There's so much healing. He exposes the things in you that need to be exposed and worked on in order for you to be able to be the right person for the next person. And so for me, that's what the healing journey looked like. And fortunately, when I met Sam, he was saved as well. He got saved when he was 16 and he's very focused. And so he also knew what healing looked like for him. I remember there was a time before we even started dating where he said he needed to drive down to KZN to speak to his ex-girlfriend and to just make peace with her because that's what he had needed at the time. And I remember thinking to myself, they're going to get back together. God, you lied to me.
Are you sure that was your voice, God?
But he knew what he needed to do, and we both knew we needed to work on ourselves, and it had nothing to do with each other. And we knew that in order to be the best people for each other, we needed to heal, we needed to spend time with God, and make peace with the people that we were no longer with. I always say to people, it's so important to keep peace with people and with mankind. And it's obviously different. It looks different for different situations because not everyone has a perfect scenario. Or some people come out of abusive relationships, but having peace in your heart, being able to forgive people for how they've wronged you and letting them go. I think that's what brings so much healing. And I remember you asked me earlier, how do you know it's not your desire and that it's actually God speaking? And someone once asked me, what about the people who felt like God said this was the perfect
and it was wrong
partner for them and it was wrong? And I said, it's because sometimes we want to satisfy our own flesh and we're so desperate for our life to look a certain way that we end up making the wrong choices and leaning more into our flesh and making decisions based on flesh and what we feel and what makes us feel good at the time. And it's okay, those mistakes happen, but it's
they'll
being able
lead you
to
somewhere also.
but also being able to forgive yourself when you realize that it actually wasn't God speaking. This was me. This was me trying to orchestrate my own life and to direct it. And that's what healing looks like, even for those people, forgiving yourself.
I want to add to that, right? Because there's also the interference of the enemy in certain situations.
Definitely.
And sometimes if you're not able to pick that up, then you move way further from what you were actually told.
Yes.
And sometimes
you can destroy the promise.
Yes.
Because of disobedience.
Yes.
And that's another thing we went through. I remember, so we actually, like I said, we were both saved and we were both waiting for marriage and like that was our intention. but we fell short.
Yeah.
And we were having sex outside of marriage.
Yeah.
But we realized how damaging it was to the both of us spiritually in our individual walks with the Lord, because we were both, like, I was starting to not see Christ through Zab. Like, I was like, I can't recognize you. And I could feel the sickness in my body from the shame and the guilt of knowing I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
And how it was affecting my prayer life. And so I remember I said to him, it's either we stop doing this thing now and spend the rest of our lives together when the promise is fulfilled and the blessing that God has promised, or we continue living and satisfying our own flesh, and trying to control our own lives, and we risk losing the promise, which is us being together. So it's, that's part of the journey.
And you see, I think grace carried you so beautifully because you were able to identify it, right? And sometimes people, and I'm speaking for myself, you know, because I've also like just been walking my own journey, and those are the things that have just been brought to my realization that no, it's not that it wasn't the voice of God. Yes, it was, but there was interference from the enemy, and
temptation.
at that point, exactly, and at that point you didn't pick it up. You still continued to.
You did,
and you just continued to live according to how you wanted to live.
I am going to do this.
Exactly, and it's just like, no, but this is how the world lives. I mean, come on, and the grace of God is sufficient.
God will forgive me.
Exactly, right? So I really wanted us to speak about that, because sometimes we negate our responsibility, even though we understand the omnipotence of God, even though we understand that God is in all things, we still carry our own responsibility, right? I want to talk about how you've intentionally raised your son.
Yes.
There's a video that to date still has me feeling like, oh God, this is it, right?
Yes.
Where you guys, I can't remember, you guys were sitting, something was happening, and then he just suddenly got into prayer, and he starts praying, and
Yes.
and you can tell.
I want to cry thinking about it.
Like, I cried watching the video, and you can tell that he's probably been overcome by the Holy Spirit so much, and he's just going, and he's praying for family, he's praying for his mom, his dad, and he's just praying for school, his friends, all of that, right? Talk to me about the sort of decisions you make as a parent to raise your child to be quite mindful of God.
I believe kids do what they see and not what they hear.
Sure.
So we could tell our kids it's important to go to church. It's important to read the Bible. It's important to pray. But if we are not living it, they don't believe it, you know? And I realized, as my son was growing, I try to identify, even now, identify his gifts, his talents, his strengths, and then I nurture them, and I encourage my husband as well to help me nurture his gifts. And I understand the importance of his walk with Christ if we want him to be his best self.
Sure.
And so we model life to him. We go to church. We don't go to church out of routine. We genuinely love church. And that's what we do. Like, he knows, like, I know, like, the one time our helper came back, she was on leave, and she came back super early in the morning, and she was exhausted, so she wasn't going to be going to church with us that morning, because she goes to church with us every Sunday. My son said, why is Auntie not going to church? Auntie, church is important. We need to go to church. And another thing I do is, I made the conscious decision that I'm going to spend time reading the Bible. And I'm going to, because as Christians, sometimes we neglect reading the word and we just get by and we think it's like, praying is enough, or worship is enough, or listening to a YouTube sermon is enough. But it's so important to cultivate your own personal relationship with the Lord. And that's something I've been very intentional about, reading the word. And I realized the more I did it, the more my son noticed and the more questions he would have. So when we're reading his kid's Bible before bed, he'd have questions. And the only way I can truly answer those questions and steward him is if I'm reading the word. And the more I'm reading the word, the more he's interested, the more he wants to learn. And you see the fruits of it through how he lives. Like, when you ask him, please pray, the things that come out of his mouth, you realize it can only be God. Because how can a small mind like that comprehend everything? But there's other things that I've seen that have happened, obviously, that I'm protecting at the moment, where I'm just like, to my husband, we cannot afford to not invest in our child's spiritual life.
Yeah.
And it's so important.
Yeah.
And it's so important for us to invest in our own spiritual lives, because
Yeah.
the only way we can lead him is if we are filled and if our cups are full and if we know the Lord and we walk with him. That's the only way we can truly help him to get to that place as well.
My goodness. Okay, we have to wrap up our conversation, but I still want to get into the conversation around Formula One and fashion, right?
Yes.
So we'll get into that. And I've got a couple of voice notes that have come through here, so we're going to try squeeze in as many as we possibly can. Karabo Didi Khumalo joins us in studio. We are having a chat like we've always known each other, dude, and I'm absolutely loving it.
All right, here we go. Success is cool. Knowing what it took to get there, even better. Her Frequency with Bolele, celebrating Women's Month on 947.
I'm in conversation with Karabo Didi Khumalo, and what a conversation we are having, man. What a phenomenal woman I get to sit in front of and just get to understand her story. I'm just like, girl, man, you're a real one. But I've got a couple of people that want to celebrate you as well. Ingrid, a person that you know personally, has sent a voice note.
Hi, this is Ingrid from Lone Hill. I know Karabo Didi personally, and one of the things I love most about her is just how incredibly kind she is. I've personally experienced her kindness, and she is genuinely one of those people who makes you feel seen and cared for. And can we just talk about how amazing she looks?
Right?
And her work is also absolutely beautiful and so inspiring. But beyond all that, she's such a wonderful mom. Like, I watch her with her son and I'm just like, wow, that's amazing.
That is Ingrid.
I'm
She
literally
knows
so
you.
emotional.
Why are
Thank
you
you so
emotional?
much,
What's making you
Ingrid.
emotional?
I was saying to you earlier, like sometimes moments like these make you reflect on your life and make you reflect on how God's grace has truly just carried you and how it's important to just stay true to yourself no matter what.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I'm grateful.
Man, I felt like I want people to know more about your story. I want people to be exposed to this kind, phenomenal woman that I marvel at a lot on social media. I'm just like, wow, man, you're just so cool. But let's talk about the Dutch Grand Prix.
Yes.
It's coming up this weekend.
Yes.
Where did the love for Formula One begin?
8 years ago,
Okay.
was sitting, watching TV, and my husband says to me, can we watch a previous F1 race? And I was like, hell no, hell to the no. I am not in the mood to see cars going in circles. And he said, I promise you, there's more to it. And I said, no. And then I said, okay, fine. You can play one old race.
Sure.
And so as we're watching, he's explaining the sport to me. He's explaining the engineering behind it, the strategies, the different teams, the different drivers. And I thought to myself, wow, this is actually quite interesting. I underestimated just how interesting it is. And from there, I started following the sports.
Sure.
I started following the drivers,
Sure.
started learning more. And I think through that journey, when you love something so much and you're so passionate about it, you are so excited about it, you want everyone to know about it. So I started sharing online about my passion and love for F1.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, you guys need to learn about the sports as well. So I was like, I'm
You're
going to
teaching
explain.
us.
Yes. So I don't remember which country we were in. I think it was Barcelona last year. I thought to myself, let me actually make a video as I was getting ready to go. I think we're going to a practice session or quali. It's like, let me actually explain, because people get to see me attend these races. And some people are like, have you not been to a race before? Why are you going to another race? And I'm like, I need people to understand my passion for this and to be just as passionate, because when people understand something, it starts to make sense. So I made a video explaining to my audience how it works, and people are like, we're gonna watch. And people actually started watching, and then opportunities just started to come in that space. And it's so crazy that sometimes you just need to follow your passions and share your passions, and opportunity will come from that.
I think that's where I struggle, right? Because I've got so many passions. Oh my word. And I'm just like, I don't even know where I'll start with sharing. And I guess, I think this is one thing that you've made me realize just in the conversation that we've had, that you just need to be real.
You just need to be yourself.
Vulnerable and be yourself about your passions, and whoever resonates will resonate, and that will ultimately help you build a community. I do that very well on the radio, but I struggle with it online.
No, but we all struggle, and people don't realize that we all struggle. I remember when I first started my YouTube channel, it was so daunting. I hated the sound of my voice, so I never wanted to hear myself speaking. And you're so anxious in front of the camera because it's so foreign, but you realize the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more comfortable it becomes.
Yeah. Did you at any time, before we talk about the Dutch Grand Prix, and I only have one question to ask you, did you ever at any point feel intimidated about sharing on something like Formula One, right? Because there's a great misconception around male sport, how only guys like it. A girl will never be able to tell us about F1. Did you ever find yourself going through that?
I think in the beginning, you just share what you love.
Okay.
And then the more, when I realized it was becoming serious and the opportunities that were coming with brands, I realized, okay, there's an opportunity. So let me tap into that opportunity. And so every week you read up, you're trying to understand what's happening in the F1 space, what's happening this weekend, what's happening with the drivers. So you inform yourself. That way, when you speak from a place or position of being informed, and you can share with knowledge as opposed to just saying things off the top of your head. And so I think, the more you're passionate about something, learn about it, get to know more about it, and invest in it, and you'll see the fruits of that.
Okay, so we are going to the Netherlands this weekend. How are you feeling, firstly? Okay, maybe I've got more than one question. How are you feeling, firstly, about Ferrari's performance in this season?
Yes.
Secondly, who do you think is ultimately going to win the championship? Because there is a guy that is on a roll currently. Kimi Antonelli. He's doing the most. Yes. But then you've got the likes of Max Verstappen, George Russell, right? And now just at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Lando Norris also just has come back up, right? And he is last season's champion, right? So,
but I think it's too late for him. He can try next year.
Sure. I mean, if
or when Lewis retires.
There's that too, right? Yes. So take us through it. Ferrari's performance and who you ultimately think is going to take the championship.
Okay. So I think Ferrari in the past have struggled, well, at least in the recent years, have struggled with developing a really good car.
Sure.
But more than that, they've struggled with consistency. They've struggled with reliability as well as strategy. But I think bringing in someone like Lewis Hamilton into their team, who's so experienced, he's a 7-time world champion, and he's got so much to offer. And you see last year when he comes into the team, they struggle so much because they're still trying to adapt. But I think over the past couple of months, they've started to gain trust in him. And so they're listening to him more, which is so important. But for someone with that much experience coming from a team that's so successful. I mean, Ferrari is the most successful team in the sport, but over the past couple of years, Mercedes has dominated the sport. So for someone to come from a team like Mercedes, it's so important to learn so much from him and to allow him to give input. And the changes that we've seen and the improvements in performance and in strategy that we've seen from Ferrari, I truly believe as a result of the influence of Lewis Hamilton. And I think if they continue to listen to him, they can only go up from here. They are definitely not where they need to be. Mercedes has built an amazing car for this year. They have been dominating, but we've seen that Mercedes has been plagued with a lot of unreliability issues. Lewis has finished every race this year. So they just need to keep putting their best foot forward. And that's how opportunities come about in Formula One. It's a very unpredictable sport and you need to capitalize on each opportunity. And I think if they keep doing that, same with Lewis Hamilton, he's currently second in the championship, 50 points behind Kimi. And I think if he can keep putting his best foot forward and getting the support he needs from the team, he's got a good chance. I mean, he's such a great driver and we can't count him out. There was a time in 2021 where he was 50 points or 40 points behind Max Verstappen and we saw how he was able to catch up. But also we can't write off Kimi Antonelli. He's very young, the youngest driver on the grid at the moment. But he is so talented, and I think Toto Wolff made such a great investment in him.
Absolutely.
And he's also like, in terms of consistency, I think he's done well. I always say with Formula One, you really need a good mind and a good head above your shoulders. He's very, very calm and focused. He reminds me of Oscar. I love Oscar Piastri because of how mature he is and how he handles pressure. And I think Kimi, one thing that is on his side is that he's able to handle pressure. I thought he would struggle as a youngster in the sport, but he's done so well. And he's really, if they can keep performing, he really has a chance. But we can't count George out because that guy is hungry.
No, he's fighting.
He is a pit bull.
No,
he does not give up.
Oh my God.
He does not give up.
Yeah.
So it's Kimi's race or championship to lose or win.
Yeah.
And the only, I think, two people that might be able to stop him is George or Lewis.
Or Lewis.
Yeah. What do you think?
I feel like we need to have more F1 conversations. Something is brewing here. Literally, something is brewing. How do you tie in? I resonate with what you're saying, right? And I'm so glad that someone picked up the issues around Lewis Hamilton's struggles with Ferrari, right? Because I think for a very long time, people didn't realize and understand that Lewis is so influential in the sport.
Yes.
Lewis understands it from back to front, right? And him and his team just ultimately need to come together and get married way beyond just the relationship, right? And for you to have said everything that you said, I'm just like, she gets it.
Yes. And for
the
Charles Leclerc supporters who keep hating on Lewis, I don't think they realize just how much Charles is going to benefit from this.
Yeah.
Lewis is old. He's retiring anytime now.
Yeah.
Like, he could retire next year or the year after. But all the work he's putting in now, Charles will actually be the biggest beneficiary, and they just need to trust that Lewis is the right person for the job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you then decide that you're going to marry the world of fashion and the world of sport? Because it's not just with F1. We've seen it with football as well. When you were at the Champions League final, we also got the OTT. What are they calling it these days? Utulu.
I saw that video.
So talk to us then about how you're marrying the different worlds.
Yes. I think those are two things that I'm super passionate about and love and enjoy. I love dressing up. I was thinking to myself today when I was coming here, I'm like, I am a homebody. I love my house. I sit in my house all the time. So whenever I get to leave my house, it's an opportunity for a fashion moment to look cute and actually enjoy my outfits.
Yeah.
So even when I go to F1, I'm always excited about the outfits because we know that Lewis also is one of the most influential people when it comes to fashion and F1.
Absolutely.
And a lot of girls get into or got into F1 because of fashion and the glitz and glam, and then you learn about the sport and you realize there's more to it. But it's almost like every race weekend is also a fashion moment. So whenever I attend a race, it's like, okay, this is an opportunity to show up, not just as someone who's knowledgeable about the sports, but giving people inspiration to show up as their best self. Like, I'm going to a race, I'm not just going to wear baggy pants and a
I'm going to dress for the occasion.
I'm going to dress for the occasion. So that's exactly what I do, and I really enjoy it.
No, and we enjoy watching because it's just like, oh man, I like that. Oh, maybe I can, match my blazer with that. Oh, my pants with that. I love it.
And how it actually started with F1 in particular is that I can't go to every race. F1 is a very expensive sport, and I wish I could go attend every race because it's held in different parts of the world throughout the year. And so I started a series on my Instagram where this weekend is the Dutch Grand Prix. I won't be at the Dutch Grand Prix, but if I was at the Grand Prix, this is what I'd be wearing. And so it was a fun way to feel like I'm part of the experience and I'm there. Or if Lewis invites me into the paddock club, this is how I'd show up. And it's been a fun way to bring my audience into that as well and get them excited about the sport.
I look forward to you receiving that invitation to the paddock club. It's going to happen, girl. It's really going to happen. Let's finally, wrap it up. But let's finally talk about your love for food.
Yes.
A lot of people, some of us, we look at your meals and we get inspiration for what we're going to cook in the evening and all of that. Was it grandmother, mom's favorite recipe that inspired it? How did it all begin?
I come from a family of cooks who are in the food space.
Oh, nice.
Food business.
Nice.
So that's what I grew up seeing.
Okay.
I didn't like cooking when I was growing up.
Let
you
me
know
tell
how
you-
annoying it is when Babutso Retamapiya and you're just like,
Karabo.
oh my God.
I even became a person that was in catering because I could cook, and I thought, but this is what I know, maybe I could make money.
Yes.
It turned me off completely from cooking because I was just like, now you're even cooking for other people.
There's nothing that annoyed me like being asked to cook when I was young. Like it was just like, 'cause like I said, I'm a homebody, and I was that kid who sat in the bedroom the whole day, like by myself. I enjoy my own space. So whenever they'd call me out, how I be here, and I'm just like,
Please just leave me alone.
and then the crazy part is that I start dating this guy who loves food, and then Kenyakomo impress.
Of course.
There I am at
Now you're
race. There I am at race. I should be studying. I'm within the pots. And then now I get married, and then how I love to show my family love is through meals and food. And I married into a family of people who love food as well. So that's how I love my people. And then I just share on Instagram what I cooked today. And then someone will be like, please share the recipe. And I'm thinking, I cannot recipe. I don't have a recipe. This is, I measured with my eyes. This is from the top of my head. But like I said, when you're in the social media space, you always constantly need to be looking for gaps and opportunities. And so I realized the demand was there for food content and recipes. And so I tapped into it. I remember when I was renovating, when my husband and I were renovating our kitchen in 2021, after we just bought our home, we wanted to renovate, and we thought, okay, I can get some brands on board just to cut costs and stuff. And one of the things we came up with is to pitch to brands, because when you are asking brands for big things that cost 80,000 rand, 100,000
like,
rand,
hey,
you need to tell them
prove
why
that it's worth it.
they must give you. So I tell them, once the kitchen is renovated, I'm going to have this sub-brand called Dine with Didi.
Oh, wow.
So if you give me a stone top, and then people will be able to see it in my kitchen when I'm cooking, and then they'll ask, where is that from? And so I conceptualized Dine with Didi. My passion for food was already there, but the brand itself, I conceptualized with my husband, and we came up with so many ideas, a lot which I haven't executed yet. Imposter syndrome, nervous,
That's okay.
but I know when the time is right, I'll execute everything I need to, and it'll be just the perfect season for it. And so, that's how Dine with Didi was born. And I created a different page outside of Karabo Didi. And it's so crazy how much opportunity is in the food space. I mean, if we were to go into another lockdown right now, the one industry that will still thrive is the food
space
industry.
100%.
And so you realized, like, I got some of my biggest opportunities through cooking, but also go through seasons where it's nice to cook for your family without having to take content of it, because once it becomes about the content, the passion starts to dwindle. And so sometimes you need to take moments to rest and pause and get back into enjoying what you're passionate about without it being about Instagram or sharing. And once you are filled again, then you're able to share, and even share better than you did before.
You are such an inspiration. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, for being so authentic, for allowing us into your space. It's such a beautiful space, and we take so many different things from it. And we can't wait for Dine with Didi to become what you are ultimately hoping for it to become, and to see everything else that is just going to make its way to you. What are some of those things that you are secretly hoping for?
I want to have my first event this year. I want people to experience my food, to taste it, because everyone's always like, please Uber me food. And I'm like, I want to be able to invite my community. And I think they've supported me so much. I feel so indebted to my online community. They have literally supported and loved me and walked this journey with me. So I'd love to share a meal with them. So that's one of the things I really, really want to do. Cookbook in the future. Definitely on the cards, and many more things. I'm guarding and protecting
Yeah.
that stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm really just hoping to grow
Yeah.
and to take my people along that journey with
Yeah.
me. No one gets left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
and to just inspire more people to be passionate about their homes
Yeah.
and loving on their people through food.
Girl, you literally created your sanctuary, right? Because you know you're a homebody. You wanted it to be what you love,
Yes.
right? I absolutely love that. Now, in closing, this feature is called Her Frequency, right? And for you, faith is such an important part of how you actually navigate life, right? In this particular season, what do you feel God is calling you to tune into more deeply? And what have you had to quiet down in order to hear Him more clearly?
That's a tough question. Okay, in this season, so a while ago, I realized that with social media, it says you have followers, right? And what can happen is that you can become so consumed with it and forget who the ultimate person that needs to be followed is. And so it becomes about self.
Sure.
So in this season, God has been calling me to die to self and to remember what my platform is all about and why it's there, and that it's not about me, it's bigger than me, and ultimately it needs to lead to Him. So that's what it's been all about, and I've been, like I said, spending time in the Word and allowing God to direct my steps. And yeah, Satan wants us to be so fixated on the followers and the numbers, but there's more to it than that. It's not about that, and we need to focus on what it's all about, and that is Christ. And so for me, this season is all about turning the attention back to the Lord and dying to self while inspiring people to be their best self, because at the end of the day, I am a vessel for the kingdom of God, and my life is meant to, I'm not here to change people's lives. I'm here to allow God to change people's lives through my life. And so that's been my focus, and family as well. My marriage, my motherhood journey. I'm very intentional in this season about those things, because if you neglect them, it's so easy. Like, it's so easy to wake up and realize how everything has fallen apart if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
So I'm very intentional about paying attention to my family and to my husband and to building and growing. So yeah.
Karabo, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
The story you won't find on her feed. Didi Khumalo on Her Frequency with Bolele on 947.